Marvin, tell me your full name and where you are right now.
Okay, my name is Marvin Louisguy. I'm in the Bell County Jail in Bell County, Texas, pursuant to a no-knock search warrant that was executed on my residence in Killeen, Texas on May 9th, 2014.
That's a long time ago.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Marvin has been in jail since the morning of the raid on his home. That Friday in May, 8 years ago. Police went to his apartment thinking they were going to find drugs. The SWAT team shattered his bedroom window with a metal pole and hurled a battering ram into his front door while he was sleeping. Marvin says he had no idea it was the police. So, he picked up a gun.
The window busted out, and I turned and I fired out the window. And so, having no idea it was the police, thinking that it was a robbery or somebody was trying to come in the house to kill us.
And then, officers unleashed a hail of bullets. 4 Killeen officers were shot. 1 later died in a hospital. When it was all over, police found no drugs inside Marvin's home. Marvin claims that police accidentally shot the detective during the chaotic raid. But police say that Marvin killed the detective, and he was charged with capital murder. If convicted, Marvin could face the death penalty. This case was a nightmare for everyone involved. But these violent confrontations keep happening, and they always have. I'm Jen Abelson.
And I'm Nicole Dunca. We're investigative reporters with The Washington Post. This is Broken Doors. A series about no-knock warrants, the controversial tactic that allows police to force their way into homes without warning.
The threshold for a no-knock warrant is very high.
I know they didn't have probable cause. Probable cause don't mean shit in Amer, Mississippi.
Well, I mean, to sum it up, they shot the wrong person.
This is our final episode. How we got here, and where we're going.
Over the course of our investigation, we've looked at nearly 24 fatalities involving no-knock warrants and examined hundreds of other questionable warrants. We found a lot of similarities in these cases and learned how easy it can be for police to carry out one of the most aggressive and intrusive forms of policing.
During our reporting, we kept coming across the rationale that law enforcement officials have used for decades to justify these raids. They say no-knock warrants are a necessary tool to preserve evidence and protect officers.
But cases like Marvin's challenge that idea. It's one of many examples that have made people in the justice system and the public question whether no-knocks are worth the risk.
You having citizens getting shot, and you having police getting shot. Neither one of them is a good look, and it shouldn't be happening.
We're going to continue to explore that fallout through Marvin's case and through another deadly no-knock raid in Texas. And we'll revisit the story that inspired this investigation. The police killing of Breonna Taylor in 2020.
In order to figure out where we are now with no-knocks, it's important to first go back and understand how politics set a lot of this into motion.
The U.S. Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, actually protects people against unreasonable searches. The idea is tied to a legal concept called the Castle Doctrine, which has its roots in English common law, as in, your home is your castle, and you have the right to defend it.
But in a 1963 Supreme Court opinion, several justices said police could lawfully enter a home without knocking and announcing themselves in certain circumstances. The next year, New York's Republican governor, Nelson Rockefeller, pushed for a no-knock law. Then other states started passing their own versions.
This was all happening against the backdrop of the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy.
2 priests who were with President Kennedy say he is dead.
And Martin Luther King Jr.
Dr. Martin Luther King has been shot to death in Memphis, Tennessee.
Protests against the Vietnam War.
And a push for civil rights.
There was a growing counterculture movement and a rise in drug use.
You see, these drugs affect your judgment, concentration, particularly LSD. They cause changes in your brain.
Across the country, states were grappling with an explosion in violent crime. During the 1960s, those crime rates more than doubled.
All of this was used to stoke fear in communities across America. In 1968, Richard Nixon ran for president on a tough-on-crime platform, promising to clean up the streets and make the country safer.
We owe it to the decent and law-abiding citizens of America to take the offensive against the criminal forces that threaten their peace and their security, and to rebuild respect for law across this country. I pledge to you, the wave of crime is not going to be the wave of the future in America.
Nixon had a team of policy advisors who were instrumental in pushing for a new law that allowed federal authorities to use no-knock warrants. One of those advisors still works in Washington, D.C., and he was willing to talk about the work he did back then.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing? I'm Jen.
Well, hello, Jen. I'm Don Santarelli.
Great to meet you. I'm Nicole Dunca. Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Great.
And in the old days, if you were Bob Woodward, he'd be taking me to lunch.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh,
He had a very...
we already messed up.
Nicole and I went with audio producer Sabby Robinson to Don's office, which looked like a museum of American political history. There were photos with presidents and plaques and certificates for his work.
Don got involved with federal crime policy early in his career.
In a framed note, President Lyndon Johnson thanked Don for being, quote, a real hard ass on crime.
Nixon took notice of Don and brought him on to work on his '68 campaign. So when Nixon became president, Don worked on his crime legislation.
In one photo, there's a young Don engulfed by reporters.
Well, this is not a favorite, it's a revelation. Here am I briefing the press. Look at the body language. What a smart-ass kid.